Good afternoon. Two hands today. First hand is 9-7 spades. Villain 10 open raises 2.8. I'm going to call that a standard size. He is playing in mid position 19% of hands. He raises first in 27% of them, so I do think he's going to be a little bit more on the aggressive side. I don't know if he's going to play position as much. So let's kind of establish like 20% range and go from there. Let's clear up some of those. Let's give him all of those pocket pairs. We'll be right there. So now it's on us, 9-7. What do we do? If we call, there really isn't anyone that looks like they are overly aggressive, so really don't have a whole lot of 3-bets, and none of them seem to be super loose. So I think if I call, I don't have to worry about getting squeezed. I don't think I have to worry about getting a lot of callers behind us. What if we raise? I think raising could be okay. His fold to 3-bet is 0. Only one person has challenged him. You can mix it in, but I think a call is a little bit better. His c-bet right now is pretty low, 2 out of 5 when he's out of position, 0 out of 1 when he's in position. So I'm gonna guess that if he c-bets, he's hit the board. So I call, and just the two of us call. So I figured it'd be about 37% equity. This is an okay board. Definitely, I think he can have top pair hands. He probably outflops me a large percentage of the time. I do have that middle pair, which is something. So when he bets, and he bets fairly large, I do think he's got a pair, probably top pair, maybe one of these middle cards, tens through kings. But I don't think he's really going to be betting these lower pairs. His c-bet percentages just aren't that high. And same thing with the flush draw. I just can't imagine he's going to be betting a flush draw here. So, and the flush draw that he would have would be like the king queen of clubs, king jack of clubs. I think he would just probably check call. Now I could be wrong, but his c bets are pretty low. So he makes a c bet with 46% of the hands. If I call, I'm at 16% equity. What do I think is going to happen on the turn? So I think here that if a club comes, I think I may be able to rep that club and could probably get him to fold a lot of these top pair hands, pocket pair below top pairs. And if we look at the overall distribution, that's 80%, almost 90% of his hands are these top pair or pocket pair below the aces. So I think with this, I think we can call with the expectation that we may be able to take it away. If we hit a 9 or a 7, that's also going to be good, because if he has an ace, I do think he's going to be coming along, as long as that club doesn't get there. So I think I'm calling with the plan. The 6 hits, which doesn't really help me at all. Still have pair 9s, and he checks. So the question is, what is he going to check? At this point, I kind of think it's this pocket pair below top pair. I would assume top pair is going to continue 2 pair and sets and so forth. So I think we've kind of have a very narrow range for him at this point. Could I get him to fold those hands? Maybe. I think the ace littles, ace mid, ace jack, ace 10, ace 9 should be in my range. So I fired out a bet, and I'm expecting him to fold, and he doesn't, which makes me think, well, maybe he has one of these top pair hands and is worried about his kicker. So if we take out ace king and ace queen, maybe even ace jack, and say he could have ace 10 to ace 2, now I think that kind of makes a little bit more sense. He check calls, and of those hands now, when we look at what he has, 52% are the aces, 48% are these pocket pair below top cards. Could possibly have the flush. but I don't think so. I don't think so. So I took my stab since he checked his initiative. Took my stab, and my bet was probably a little bit, maybe too small. Maybe I should have raised it up to 15. Really try to make a play, and then at that point when he calls, I think it would just only be those aces. The 9 is good for me. He checks, and at this point I'm thinking, if I bet here, he's probably only going to call with the aces. And how often does he do that? 52% of the time. So I think this is a value spot. How much could I bet? I think we should go 30. I did basically pot, and he calls, so I'm expecting to see ace here. Does he show? Nope. It's one of those times where we don't get to see, so I have to assume he has the ace. He has, could be ace jack, could be ace 10. I would think ace king continues betting, but maybe ace queen, if he's scared that I have an ace. It doesn't make sense. I have a 7 kicker, so I don't think he has a 7. He doesn't have trips, and it does it. Why would you call with king queen of clubs? So tough to say what he had, but won the hand. So I think we did okay. Pot size bet may have been a little bit too much, but he paid me off. All right, let me close things up and get hand number 2. All right, hand number 2 is king queen off. We have a limper, and then we have isolation raise by an early position player. I think this represents basic strength. We can probably say he's raising, maybe at that level, 9%. His raise, pre-flop raise, is 6% here, 5 out of 86. I don't think I have isolation stats. Yeah, raised with previous limpers. This is the first time he's raising. So it looks like actually that 8.75% may be a little bit too wide. Maybe we need to do something like that. That's his raise, and then it gets folded to us. And I think with king queen off, we should just fold it. He has a strong range. You could see that he basically has us dominated. Even if we have a king, even if we flop a king or a queen, we really can't like our hand, because he could have us outkicked with that ace king or ace queen. There's players behind us, so if I call, we've got a 28-8 here, we've got a 26-8 here, 21-8. So I think if I call, this guy's probably going to call. One or both of these guys might call. They're in the blind, so just when you look at their calling, it's 1 out of 5 he's called from the big blind. It's their small blind, 1 out of 7. So I think this is fold or raise, and I honestly think that if I raise, I'm not going to generate enough folds from this player to show profit. He has folded 5 out of 5 times to a 3-bet, so he might give up these ace jack, queen jack, king queen, ace 10 hands, possibly. So we'll see. I just called, and I think that's a mistake. And then we get small blind and the limper to call. So we have our isolation, and then we have our small blind. He was probably playing at least 25%. He didn't 3-bet, and he has 3-bet before. So it was 14%. I think they're going to tend to be tighter once we already have at least one caller in the pot. So maybe something like that is his, and then this other guy limped and then called. Just a weak player. So early position 19%. He raises first in 13%. So let's go 20% here, and then raise it up 13%. So I do think we're going to have these pocket pairs in his range. He seems to be limping a lot. So maybe something like that. Pretty wide range. We're not going to like our hand, especially on a flop like that. So queen of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, and jack of hearts. We do hit top pair. Villain 3 checks villain 5 and villain 6. They all check to me. So this guy, we're looking at, if I bet, what is he like? So just straight off, top pair plus is, you're looking at, it's your top pair. We'll say flush draw, open and straight draw, and these combo draws. So 26% for that limper. Small blind, that same range is 37%. Pre-flop razor, you can see that his distribution is much more skewed towards this top pair plus. So this is a player that probably hit something. Now he checks. So, oops, hold on. That's better. I had filters on him. Change it. So still top pair plus. It's 20, 35, 45. So 47% here. We expect him to call. Now the question is, would he have c-bet any of these? And I do think he's going to c-bet all of these. Middle pair, pocket pair, below top pair, bottom pair. I think he's going to be checking those. I would have expected him to c-bet flush draws and gut shots. Maybe the overcards. So I think when he checks here, he has that. I do think he would have bet all of those flush draws. Overcards he would check. I'd say gut shots he would have bet, other than the ace 10. But I think ace 10 is in there. So when he checks, he's at that. We're gonna beat a big chunk, and if we bet and everyone folds, he might come along with one of these middle pair hands just once. What about these other players? These other players I should get a lot of folds. So I bet 14, probably to get the job done, because I do think they're going to be folding a lot, and both of those players do fold. So that player, I mean, he's got so many of these other things, and in a multi-way pot, he doesn't know what anybody else behind him is going to do. So, it's basically left to us and that pre-flop razor. So we have king spades, queen of hearts. You can see we're 78%, and he calls, and then 4 heart comes out, and he checks to us, and the question is, should we check or bet? I think we could probably check. I mean, he does have some of these flush draws, I guess. Had more turn flush draws in his range, and I think he would call those. Would a gut shot call? Ace king? I don't think so. So I think if I bet, he's really just, if he calls, it's going to be with this ace jack hand. I don't think any of those 8s, 9s, or 10s are going to call. I'm not certain I see value by betting here, so I think the check is fine. Keeps all of his hands in his range. 2 of diamonds gets there. I don't think he's going to have diamonds, because I think he really would have c-bet. His c-bet stats are pretty high. So he checks, and now the question is, if I bet, what do I think he's going to call? Well, he'll call with a flush, but I also think he'll call with his middle pair and probably the pocket pair below his second pair, just to see if I have something. maybe not pocket pair below the ace jack, I think is probably what we're looking for. So it's going to be like 50-50. 50% of the time that he calls, we win. 50% of the time he calls, we lose. This is probably just a time where it's just good to check behind with our king queen and take it down. I did check, and he shows ace king, which is kind of interesting because we did have that on the turn. We did have that. We had ace king in his range, so I think if I bet, he probably just folds that. So checking kind of gives us an opportunity to then say, okay, well, we check and the diamond gets there. I think if it's a non-diamond, we bet here, but with the diamond, I think we've repped the diamond. We're not going to get called by a whole lot worse. So, but if this was, let's say, 2 of clubs, then I think we can bet because it kind of looks like we've missed our draw and now we're bluffing it, and ace king could conceivably call at that point. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this. Look tomorrow for a couple more hands.